Welcome back to PremoDonnas. I'm Mishka. Imperium couldn't be here today. She's doing an interview elsewhere, but she will be back next week. Today's guest, we're doing something a little different. We're doing a pop detour, if you will. Today's guest is Daryl Banner, a USA Today best-selling author whose creativity truly knows no bounds. Daryl graduated magna cum laude from the University of Houston, honors college with a degree in theater and psychology, and has been crafting stories and music ever since. He's written everything from new adult, male romance, to post-apocalyptic fantasy and dystopian fiction, often pairing his novels with original soundtracks that he composes himself. Along the way, Daryl has had his music featured in major films like The Spy Who Dumped Me and his work on the award-winning audio drama Janus Descending. Am I pronouncing that right?
Giannis, but
Janus
close.
Descending. It's earned him even more fans. On YouTube, his hyper 8-bit covers, including a standout cover of Lady Gaga's Abracadabra, which has amassed over 100,000 views, showcases his passion for video games, pop music, and retro sound. A self-taught pianist and a huge video game enthusiast, Daryl has built a dedicated following of over 36,000 followers, and alongside that has amassed 40,000 views and reviews on Goodreads, as well as 12 original albums on music platforms. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Talk about this journey, this creative process, and what's coming next. Please, everybody, welcome Daryl.
Thank you so much. I
Yay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
That was my little blurb about you. I hope it was well written.
It was lovely. Thank you. I was just sitting here like, God, really? I've done that? Oh, that? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I did my research. I did my deep dive research. So
You did.
So I first discovered you through your 8-bit covers of Lady Gaga's music, especially her most recent album, Mayhem.
Yes.
And one thing I've kind of recognized is you're clearly very skilled when it comes to music. So, like, are you like classically trained? Like, how did you get started?
Well, I just honestly started as a kid. I was a gamer ever since I was a kid, and I was obsessed with particularly RPGs. I played the crap out of Final Fantasy and all the Final Fantasies, and I don't know what it was. I just kind of connected really strongly to the idea of music telling a story. And really, like, especially back then when you didn't have voice acting, music was the voice of video games. And I mean, other than like sound effects and things, but like, music was the voice of the games. And so I was just at a very, very early age, like literally probably 5 or 6 years old. I mean, of course, this is like, late 80s, early 90s. I was piddling with really old programs on the computer to make music. And so I kind of taught myself theory without realizing I was teaching myself theory. I was just kind of understanding how the notes come together. I started trying to play music from the video games on the piano. My neighbor across the street had like this Baldwin organ, and I would go over there and play it whenever she was babysitting me. And then like my dad did some like car work for her, and she realized she didn't need the organ anymore, and so she gave it to us. And so I started like years just playing on the music. Fast forward, I'm basically that's my self-taught background. And I've never actually I've always wanted to, don't get me wrong, I've always wanted to like classically study music, but my life kind of took me down a theater path. And I was up doing acting. I did musical theater in college. I kind of segued from acting into playwriting, which is kind of where my writing background comes from. And then I kind of combined music and writing. Complete crazy story of like, there's this musical collaboration class at U of H that's run by Stuart Ostro. He's a Broadway producer. After I was in a playwriting program for 2 years with Lanford Wilson. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright, and he passed away back in 2013. He never got to see my second novel. I'm really sad because he helped me through the writing of my first novel. I feel like I went to U of H at a very lucky time because I just was able to learn so much from these amazing people. And so I got into Stuart Ostro's musical collaboration class as a writer, and then a friend of mine, a very supportive friend of mine, was like, he also does music, because one of our composers dropped out last minute. And so then suddenly I got roped into being the composer for the show I was also writing. So I was kind of like book, lyrics, and music for this show. Doing that gave me the because all of my music used to be like private stuff. And I would share it online with just like, small groups of friends, but I had never really led with my music. And doing that in college and actually writing a musical gave me this confidence of, maybe I can like put my stuff out there and it's okay.
That's one of the biggest challenges I found being a creative person is you know, you'll put the time and energy into something, but you kind of almost have to force yourself to just like put it out there into the world, or else it's never going to get out there.
It takes a lot of confidence sometimes. And also you're like protective a little bit. You're like, this is just my stuff. I don't know if anyone else is gonna like it. Some of my stuff's weird or like off the wall. You just never
Yeah,
know.
no, I totally understand that feeling. I do some of my own music production and such on the side just for fun. And it, rather than being motivated by or pushed by confidence, it's pushed by delusion. But like, I'm okay with
Hey,
that.
whatever works, you know?
I've
Be
fully
deluded.
come to accept that it's like, this is delusion, but it's fine.
No.
It's fine. Oh my gosh.
Maybe
Okay.
that delusion will find its confidence someday. Who knows?
Perhaps, maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. But I'm curious because you mentioned being a playwright, and obviously, like in a musical, if for anyone who's not familiar, there's generally singing, right? So you are familiar with writing lyrics as well.
Yes. I had to kind of become familiar with that because it was, at first it was like writing poems and then putting it to the music. And then it was kind of like, I only ever wrote music without lyrics. So it was like kind of writing that and then getting the story into it because, you know, musicals, like I learned a lot about musical structure and just the sense of like, it's really like each turn point, the plot has to move with the music, you know, you don't stop for music. The music moves. It's a decision. It's a revelation. It's action, which honestly made writing the music not easier in the sense of easy, just like it flowed better. It was focused.
Yeah. Well, and I don't have a big theater background at all, but a lot of my friends do. And it's more than just like a 3-minute song, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's intentional. There's an intention behind every note that you're hearing, every single little flourish that happens. It's
Yeah.
because it's supposed to be adding to that presence that's happening on stage, right? And that kind of brings me to my second question for you is that because I noticed almost well, all of the songs that I heard anyways don't have any lyrics in them on your YouTube channel or on your, I believe it's Bandcamp.
Yes. Yes.
Is that something that like you think you would dabble into in the future perhaps, or is that kind of like a hard line for you?
I don't know. I mean, like I I have sang in the past, and I actually left my day job to go on tour. My day job of like 10 years that I had like um insurance and like I was comfortable, I had vacation time. Like I was it was my cushy day job that I had right after college, and I left it to go on a musical tour, and so I did do some singing, and I was their pianist as well. I mean, I'm like a pianist, and I don't really read sheet music, so I was like, I had to memorize the songs, and I was just playing them from my head. I don't know, like I kind of I don't think I've had enough confidence. Back to confidence, I guess I didn't really have enough confidence to like consider writing like the singer songwriter thing. You know, actually writing songs and singing them and producing albums that way. It's a possibility, but right now, the only audio work I do is I voice over my own, I narrate my own books to put them in audiobook form, but not really thought about singing, honestly.
Okay.
The door's not closed, but it's not something I've considered yet.
Is that something like, do you ever write lyrics to some of your songs just for yourself? Or is that not even like part of your process?
Not really. My process, the writing part, like word writing part of my process tends to be having a story, even if it's like just a paragraph, something really abstract, just like an idea or a concept. And that story is then the album I'm writing, like for my
Gotcha.
original work that I'm doing.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, when I went through your music catalog, there was a lot of cinematic soundscapes. And so, you know, I'm assuming it's a combination of being self-taught, but also having experience in a formal setting, kind of blending itself together. And then obviously for music to accompany your books, cinematic soundscapes would make the most sense. Is
Yeah.
that why you're kind of drawn towards that genre, or do you have like something more personal about it?
Well, honestly, I didn't pursue having my music beyond just Bandcamp until I encountered this amazing writer, director, actor, narrator, producer in New York named Jordan Cobb. And I started. She approached me through a mutual friend of ours, Chris Rivera, who's also he's my bestie. He's a writer, director, producer in New York as well, and an actor in New York. And he or through him, I met her, and then she wanted me to compose for these audio dramas that she was making, and they were like episodic. So there were a number of episodes, and she's had a few that have been like kind of a movie length one shot thing, and we just clicked right away. And so I was we were totally on the same frequency. So like her ideas and my ideas are just kind of melding right together, and that's where I wrote the soundtrack for Janus Descending. We did Primordial Deep together, which is kind of oceanic. Janus Descending is space and alien planets. It's a really cool concept, the whole thing. I could probably talk about that like for an hour on its own. But yeah, I think because I was being hired, I guess, to do these different music projects, the only other work I'd ever done before was a few very indie games, like mobile games. Again, through a mutual contact of mine, I just made some mobile games. So this was kind of like, which is my heart is writing music for video games, I think, just because that's where my whole childhood is. But when I was writing music for Jordan and her project, her projects like Janus Descending, I think I just kind of took that cinematic thing, and I think that's why a lot of my original music that's not for a project, that's just mine, tends to be kind of a soundtrack-esque style, which I guess also kind of goes back to video games, because RPGs, it's, you listen to the soundtrack. It's like you're almost listening to the whole story when you listen to a video game, an RPG video game soundtrack.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
I think of immediately from like Ocarina of Time,
Oh, yeah.
the Song of Healing, the theme that plays when Link transitions from young Link to adult Link in the Temple of Time, things like that.
Yes.
Like, that's when I discovered your Lady Gaga 8-bit covers, I immediately was taken back to that like Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo kind of energy, and
Yeah.
it was like super nostalgic, but then at the
Ooh.
same time was, depicting this song that I was familiar with, that's a popular song as well, and kind of blending those worlds together, which is really what drew me towards your content. I'm curious though, do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
The first song ever, or the first 8-bit?
Both.
Let's see, because the first song I wrote, I mean, literally the first song, that was probably like 7 or 8. And I mean, this is with like old school tracker software for making music, using samples and things. And it was probably something very derivative of the video games I was playing, to be honest. I was also really inspired by this Finnish music troupe that were part of the demo scene in the early 90s called Future Crew. And
Okay.
they were like a huge deal back like in the 90s, and I still follow them actually. So yeah, I guess that would be my first literal song. Like if you're just talking literally, something very derivative. My first 8-bit was actually Michael Jackson's Thriller. And when I started writing 8-bits, like I didn't I don't I knew obviously I knew what 8-bit was, and I know Nintendo music, but like I don't think I understood behind the scenes of 8-bit. So I didn't really I knew the sound, but I didn't really understand the limitations. I was using like all sorts of just synthy instruments for a lot of my first 8-bits, including because right after I did Lady Gaga was I think my second and third and maybe even fourth, when Born This Way came out. I think those are my very next ones. And I was all over the place, but I've since kind of refined the sound so that it's kind of, because I feel like I was having fun, honestly. I never wanted to adhere to anything, but I wanted lately, I think, chasing a slightly more authentic sound, but still breaking a lot of rules is kind of my sweet spot, I guess. My
Okay.
comfiness.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely like when I went through your previous covers, I noticed that Gaga is one of the first artists that you covered aside from Michael Jackson. And so like how does it feel to kind of, receive a level of success with Abracadabra after all these years, like to come full circle?
It's honestly kind of insane. There's like probably a 5 or 6 year hiatus where I didn't do any 8-bits. I just stopped. I highly regret that, honestly, because there are so many songs that came out in this period when I was like kind of 100% focused on my books and on writing that I would have loved to have cover, I would have loved to do these 8-bits interpretations. But when I first came back, it was literally the end of last year. I just started back with 8-bits. I think I did BTS. And then I just started jumping around. My mom's like huge into K-pop, and then laterally I became huge into K-pop. So we're a K-pop family.
I love that. I also love K-pop. I've been a fan since Gen 2,
Oh wow.
21. The 21 girls are my ultimate. Like you
Oh my
can't.
gosh. Yes, yes. Oh my God. So I started back with like BTS, and I started just hopping everywhere. I was, all sorts of songs. And then I did Die with a Smile, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, because I just loved it. I love that song. It was one of those, you just hear it once and then it's just like all day long, you're like singing it. And then my mom and I were watching the Grammys, and right in the middle, they had this interlude where Lady Gaga's Abracadabra premiered. And I was literally just like, we both were watching it silent. Like usually we have like reactions, we're just like watching it, or like our metaphorical jaws were on the ground, and we're just like, this is so badass. Like it's just the whole like Lady in Red and the white like angelic kind of, it's like a war of dancing. It was just like brilliant. And it didn't even hit me to like do an 8-bit of it. I was just like, that was so cool. It's just like awesome. And then I was in the middle of writing a book during this period. And like it was a couple two-ish 3 months ago or so. And I was in the middle of finishing up a book. And then suddenly it hit me like, I should do an 8-bit of Abracadabra. Like it's stuck in my head, and it already, Lady Gaga just has this like, I don't know if it's her music structure that just, for me at least, I instantly connect it to 8-bit sounds. And and like it's video game kind of, and so I just made it, and I threw it out there, and I didn't even really like, sometimes I like to make a little bit more like visually stunning stuff in the videos, but I was just kind of like, just the lady in red with her and like a little spectrograph kind of showing the beats of the song. And then yeah, it like took off. And I was kind of, I mean, I literally was like, okay, shoot. Okay, that's good. I guess it's, I mean, and I was constantly justifying it. I was like, well, I mean, the song just came out. People are probably looking it up. They're probably, whatever. And then suddenly my subscribers started going crazy high. And yeah, it was just kind of, and then I think right after that, I was like, maybe I should go back and do Disease, because I remember like back whenever it premiered on MTV, I was like, I think it was like at night, and my mom was going to bed, and we were just kind of chatting. And then suddenly on the TV, this song comes on, and we both were like, that sounds really cool. What is that? And then we're like, holy shit, it's new Gaga. Like it's what? And then we started listening. It was Disease. And it was just so cool and like classic Gaga. And so anyway, so after I did Abracadabra, I was like, I better go back and do Disease. The song is like, eating me alive. And so I did it. And then it was literally this waiting game of like can't wait for Mayhem to come out. And then Mayhem came out.
I feel like you've mentioned it earlier, but I feel like, your interest in kind of breaking the rules when it comes to music and like having that structure, but also being, interested in exploring kind of what you can go through. I feel like Gaga has throughout her career always been on that same level. She's operating on the same kind of frequency. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's cool that you kind of have that back and forth with it.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, she's like redefining herself, and just like she explores this, she does that. Like the Joanne era, then like kind of just, yes, it's very true. She's had a journey.
She's had a journey, and you've been a Gaga fan for a long time. The performance at the Grammys, it reminded me like it was like time stopping for a minute in there, where it was just like I was enamored when I first saw it. And it
Yeah.
reminded me a lot of her 2009 performance of Poker Face and Love Game at the Much Music Video Awards, which no longer happens here, unfortunately, but we had some good years with it, and Gaga was there. And I remember being like a teenager and literally stopping my whole family's evening to be like, this is a masterpiece. Look at this.
Observe.
Yeah,
Yes, I hear you.
it was so good. That was when she debuted the sparking, like Madonna-esque bra,
Mm.
like the cone bra that had sparks out of it and stuff.
Yeah.
So that for me was like when I was signed, sealed, and delivered when it came to being her fan. And I definitely agree with you. Like the Grammys performance of Abracadabra when they like with MasterCard, I believe it was, right?
Yeah.
They like showed off some of the music video and like part of the performance or something, and it was just like, whoa, what is this thing?
Unreal. It really was. It was like, it was so great. I was just like, Gaga's back. She's here.
Yes, it was a throwback, and it was like she's reheating the nachos, but they're not soggy.
No, no, there's like yeah, no, that's new nachos. It's amazing.
Brand new nachos.
There's just something about like her 100% commitment to every moment. Like I know that she also kind of has she has like a theater background. I understand that and everything in her is very theatrical, but like not like theatrical, more like theater-atrical. Like she's,
Yeah.
she's committed, she's smart, she understands story, she shows restraint, she self-edits, like it's very intelligent and out there. And that's my vibe.
I totally agree with you. It's so interesting because, we talk on this show, we talk a lot about like the current music landscape and like what fans want from artists, things like that.
Mm.
And Gen Z kind of has developed this dislike of people who try hard.
Ah,
And I
I think I
think
understand.
Gaga has managed to like overcome that
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah,
Because she, like you said, she's like unapologetically herself, which is
yeah.
why I was personally really gravitated towards her as a queer person, as a
Mm.
person in the LGBTQIA2 Spirit Plus umbrella. It was like, look at this woman just doing her thing and not giving a shit what other people
Yeah.
thought. So yeah, but
No, I hear you. I mean, that's totally it. And I think there's something about her that's that like you believe it, and it's very like just everything she commits to is just very like okay, I'm with you. Like
it's
it's like,
pointed. It has like a point
you
of
know.
view. It's got a perspective, and it's trying to say something.
And I mean, like just look at her acting too. Like when she did Stars Born with Bradley Cooper and her just like I was. It's not that I was surprised. I was just floored by how strong her performance was. And then before that was American Horror Story when she was in Hotel. Like at first you kind of I hate to say this, but you almost kind of assume it's gonna be some sort of gimmick when they bring in like a big name into a show, like, and you're like, oh, Lady Gaga, okay, I hope this isn't cringe. And like that's kind of your back here thoughts, but like then you see her performance and you're like, damn, like she's like it's good and it's she's committed and everything. And I think that was kind of my first introduction to her acting. And then since then I was like, okay, she's someone to be trusted. You know what I mean? Like you go in, and then when A Star Is Born, I was like, I gotta see this. So
See, I never saw A Star Is Born. The only
Mm.
thing that I have in my memory bank from that is all of the like social media clips of her doing the press tour after, where she would be like really, really on about, she had full
Yeah.
theater kid energy over that film. And she's like sitting next to like Bradley Cooper and other like big name actors. And she's
Mm.
talking about like the artistic process of being an actress. And it's almost funny because it's just that like, that unfiltered theater kid energy, that try hard energy that the Gen Zs are so against. I love it.
Oh, I love it too. I mean, 'cause it's like, it's true. Like, I like what it's not like what she's saying is just some random pretentious blah blah blah. It's like it's real. Especially if you're a theater person, you kind of like, I get it. I get it. I'm with you.
Yeah, and that's, just off on a tangent here for a minute, but that's kind of the
Mm.
same thing that like the Wicked press tour had, where like Ariana and Cynthia were just crying in every interview, kind of a thing. And we're trying to communicate the like, unless you're a theater kid, you don't understand and you can't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Wicked
So
is
like,
in your blood, in your theater blood. It's just there,
yeah. And like I
you know?
imagine for both Ariana and Cynthia, doing a role like that is like a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? So I say let them cry. Let them cry.
Let them cry. Let those tears come out. Yeah. No, I hear you.
Just because we were talking about Gaga, I want to jump forward a little bit. Has Lady
Sure.
Gaga noticed any of your covers that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, that would be pretty awesome. Like, if she was aware of them and like also liked them and just didn't think like, what's this weird dude doing the Nintendo? I don't think she would.
I don't
I
I
think
think
she
she
would
would
be
like
pretty cool,
them.
but it's just my own insecurity being like,
Yeah, please,
but
like, notice me, senpai, but also don't.
right, right. Notice we senpai. But yeah, see, I would like that. I mean, like, I think I've been kind of spoiled from the beginning of my 8-bit experience when I did Garbage a lot. When I was first kind of right after Lady Gaga, I did Garbage, and I just kind of that was when I actually had the bug in my head of, "Why don't I do a whole album?" Like, that's kind of a cool thing, like And I was raised on Garbage's version 2.0 and Garbage's debut album, their first two albums. And I did version 2.0 and I put it out there. And that was kind of my first experience of like more people seeing my work. And then Garbage actually saw it and shared it on their social media.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like it was very like Shirley Manson's voice, kind of like she was literally like, "Fuck yes, this is fucking awesome!" Like sharing it in text, and I was like, I think I was at work, and I saw it, and I was just like, "Oh my god, she's the Garbage did it!" And it was just kind of like one of those overnight things. I got like flooded with comments and flooded with reactions, and so of course, like then my whole focus was Garbage, and I did their first album, and I did some more other things, and then after that, several years later, I did. Bjork had debuted. Stone Milker was like her lead single on that album, and I did an 8-bit of that. But I did like an 8-minute long version of it, and with a little unravel at the end. And Bjork's social media, I don't know if it's Bjork herself. You know, it's like social media. You don't know if it's like the person or their person who does their social media for them. But anyway, she shared it and was like, "Yes," so like YAAS, and
Yeah.
shared it. Yeah, yes. And Icelandic. And like it also exploded overnight. It got like 80,000 something views. I was just like, it was such an experience. And then I had this other little run in with I did the theme song to Orange is the New Black, You've
Mhm.
Got Time by Regina Spektor. And I did that. And I think it was some share on Twitter back when Twitter was Twitter. And Regina Spektor, I think actually like I can't. I'm so frustrated because I didn't take a screenshot. But I don't know if she commented on my share or if she shared it. But those are my few like, oh my gosh, like I could actually touch the artists in a way, the experiences. And I don't know if I've just been like spoiled by that. I'm just kind of like maybe someday someone else will see my 8 bits. Maybe Gaga will see them you know. But
I'm not, I feel like because when she did the original press tour, like, I don't know, it was a media moment where she basically just had a desk with Mayhem written on it and like talked about the process and everything. She talked about how she spends time every single day looking at the content that people make involving her music or tagging her in it and things like that.
wow.
So maybe it's like maybe she has seen it and just hasn't said anything.
I
Because
don't
who
know,
knows?
maybe. Yeah.
That
Which is
brings
also
me.
understandable.
Well, yeah, she's a busy gal. So
I guess, whatever, doesn't have enough time for me. What's going on? No, yeah, I understand. Of course. So that's like my first thought. I'm like, I'm not ever expecting an artist to like see any of my 8 bits. I just honestly it's mostly for me. It's a selfish endeavor. I do them because I like to hear it in that style. I like to sit into a song and like almost feel like the song's mine and interpret it my way and have fun with it and take creative liberties. I don't usually do like a 1-to-1 cover of a song where it's just like the song in 8-bit. I like to imagine like almost like the way that an artist rearranges their song for a live performance. That's kind of my inspiration whenever I do an 8-bit. I sort of am like, how am I going to perform this in 8-bit?
okay, so you're thinking about no, you're not just thinking about making like a cover verbatim. You
Yeah.
kind of want to turn it into something that's a little bit your own as well.
Yeah, even if it flips the entire vibe of the song. Like I'm about to release the full Mayhem 8-bit album because
I was
I'm
gonna ask you, are you doing like the whole album?
yeah, I mean I've been doing like I released I think 9 of the songs I think are out there on my YouTube individually. And then I was like, I think I'm gonna hold back the last 4 and then just do the whole album released together. And like one of the songs came out like a ballad. And I was like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna run with this and just have a different take on it and hopefully people will be with me on it.
You're talking about the Beast, right?
Close, actually. The Beast. Okay, I actually it was Don't Call Tonight. Just like
Okay, okay.
Don't Call It. I literally kind of interpret it like a emotional ballad. I don't know how, but it came out and the percussion wasn't coming in. I was like, I'm just gonna go with this and just see what happens. The Beast turned into like this over 6-minute long final battle kind of confrontation feel. And
Okay.
it's very interpreted though. Like it's like structurally it's very different than the original song. So I'm hoping people will enjoy it. It's my favorite song on the album, so I think that's why I went that
It's one
way.
of my favorites too.
Yeah, I love the whole werewolf thing. I love the lyrics. It just hits different. It just
It
hits.
hits different, and to me, it's almost, I like, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I like to think of certain songs on Mayhem as being callbacks to like the
Yeah.
Fame era or the Fame
Yeah.
Monster era.
Oh
And
yeah,
to
very.
me, The Beast is like a sister song to The Edge of Glory
Oh yeah.
or
Oh
Marry
yeah.
the Night.
Yeah, how married the night. Yeah. No, I hear you. And I mean, like the monster theme is totally not subtle.
No, not at
You
all.
know, what you have references to zombies, you have references to werewolves, you have references. There's throughout the whole thing. It's very monstery. The disease thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like someone on her team was like, hey, now might be a good time to like harken back to that earlier time frame and like reheat those nachos, as they say. Right? Extra. Like, come on, throw in a little bit of a spice and we'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Now your 8-bit covers, they blend obviously because they're covers of generally pop music, though not always.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Um, they blend elements of pop, the pop sensibilities, as well as like elements of hyperpop. With these retro Sega Genesis, Nintendo Entertainment sounds. How long does it take you to do a song?
I take a very concentrated amount of hours. Like if I'm uninterrupted, I can do an 8-bit very quickly. It's just that the reason I'm hesitating to say that is because I don't want you to think I've just throw these together because I don't. I give a lot of thought. You usually have to think and chew on the song for a while and get like that first burst. And I'm like, oh, okay, I know what I'm gonna do with the chorus. I know what I'm gonna do with this. Okay, I got it. And I sit down and I kind of just do it really quickly. But some songs, I sit down and I start doing it, and I'm like, this is not what was in my head. And then I either go with whatever's coming out anyway and just see where it goes, or I stop and I scrap it and then I come back later. In fact, there's like probably upwards of 50 different songs that are sitting on my computer that I started and didn't finish because I was like, it's just something got lost. I need to come back to this later. Like randomly, Britney Spears Toxic is one of them. I started it and then I just was like, I'm enjoying this, but something got lost somewhere. And I'm just kind of like, I'll get to this later. And then I set it aside and didn't.
Put it on the shelf.
It'll
back
come
to it in a
back at
bit.
some
Yeah.
point. It's actually funny because that happened with randomly. I did this Hyper 8-bit of Happy Birthday, just the Happy Birthday song.
Mhm.
And I set it aside because I was kind of like, this is sort of a dumb idea, and I don't really know. Like, people don't look up Happy Birthday. And then I started thinking, well, maybe they do, and maybe this would be just kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, funny thing to do. And so I made it, and I put it out there, and then I started with this like funny like Zelda thing of like, no one should grow up alone. Here, take this, like the sword thing in the first Zelda. And I started because this was like a long time ago. I started like on Facebook whenever someone had a birthday, I would just throw the 8-bit at them and be like, "Happy birthday!" Like, I'm a nerd. But what's crazy is that just a few years ago, a music, I don't know what you'd call it, like the person who basically procures music and sound for a movie. Like I thought I was being scammed, but like this major motion picture person contacts me and wants to use my happy birthday for the spy who dumped me. But they didn't reveal the movie title. And at first I thought it was a scam. I literally ignored it for a couple of days. And then I looked at the email and I looked at the thing and then I kind of cross-referenced and I was like, okay, this person really does work there. Okay, the domain name is literally the domain name of this. Maybe this is real. And so I responded back and it turned out to be real.
When was that?
Gosh, whenever the movie came out, it was the year before the movie came out. My mom and I went and saw it at the theater because we were like, "This is good. Like, I got to see this." But I was so sad at first because we made it all the way through the movie to the credits and we didn't hear it. And I was like, "Oh, they cut it. This is like my big." Like, I was so excited. I was like, "This is the whatever." And then the bonus scene happened. There's a bonus scene right after the first few credits, and it's in the bonus scene. They're in like an arcade. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but they're like in an arcade in this bonus scene, and one of the machines plays a happy birthday song, and they used my happy birthday 8-bit for it.
Got you. Okay.
And I was like, we literally
It's me.
screamed, "It's me!" We literally screamed, and like some people, this is the movie theater that was my day job for like 10 years, and like some people in the theater were like, and it was so exciting, and so I stayed for the rest of the credits, and I am in the credits, but they added one extra R to my name, so I'm like Daryl
Oh.
Banner, but it's okay, it's okay. I'm technically I was credited,
You know it's you.
I know it's me. It's just one extra R. Maybe I have to change my name, but whatever. IMDb wouldn't let me credit myself because of that. I tried to credit.
Really?
I tried to put the tag on my IMDb page, and it they kicked it off like twice because the spelling's different.
That's
And
annoying.
I was like, what? I don't know how to do this then. What do you? I don't know. Whatever. So I gave up. But
Well, still, that's an achievement in its own, right there.
yeah, yeah, this
Like,
is crazy.
hey guys, I'm in the bonus scene.
Dude, I know. I tell people, I'm like, hey, this is so cool. But yeah, probably won't ever happen again. But it's all good. It was a cool, fun thing.
Don't we manifest here?
It
Let's
will
make
happen again.
Yes,
It will happen again.
it will. It will.
Why Who Dumped
I'm
Me Part 2.
confident.
Just kidding.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if they took a different song that you had and like you ended up in a sequel somewhere? That'd be hilarious.
Nice. Let's do it.
Oh my
Let's make
gosh.
that happen.
As I was going through your
Manifest.
old cover songs, I noticed a handful of songs by artists like Green Day, Nine Inch Nails, Muse, Bjork, Jimmy Eat World, Alanis Morissette, Sinead O'Connor, Linkin Park, and Nirvana. And obviously these are mostly rock artists, some pop artists as well.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, and this is just because of our show here, have you or did you ever have a relationship with like emo scene pop punk music when you were growing up or even into your like later adult life?
I mean, yeah, like my whole childhood, my mom would blast like Nine Inch Nails literally when I was like a single digit age, and like my brother was a DJ and he would play music too. I was just kind of surrounded by alternative. My mom loved alternative rock. Like I would always be hearing alternative rock. I'd hear which is I guess kind of how I segued into a lot of different artists that I enjoyed growing up. There are even some artists that I haven't really covered that I also listen to. That haven't covered as much, I guess. Yeah, I would say I definitely have. That was kind of my jive. That was kind of my vibe through high school and college for sure. So that's probably why a lot of those songs, like there was really a period of time when all of my 8-bits, I would almost kind of, I wouldn't want to cover a song that I wasn't familiar with, that I didn't love myself, that I didn't like, that I didn't listen to. I wanted to cover the songs that I grew up with because that almost gives me the nostalgia to work with.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like double nostalgia. It's it's Nintendo music and it's these songs that I just so there's like this stack of songs that I just never covered that I would go back and cover. But
And
yeah.
well, and just on that note, do you ever have that like thought process where you're like, oh, like I need to do this song. I love this song. It's like a staple, but because it's not necessarily the most recent of an artist's music, or perhaps it's not trending or what have you, does that ever kind of like put a barrier up for you?
Literally not until right now. And the only reason is because I have to acknowledge I am very, very grateful for all the people who've come to my page for the Mayhem stuff, because it's in sync with where my mind was at. Like I was literally nonstop listening to Mayhem. I'm listening to Mayhem, and I'm loving it. And so there is a synchronization between what my followers seem to be wanting, because now, I mean, my followers literally tripled, which if you think of it mathematically means that there's 2/3 of my followers are Lady Gaga fans. And that's not even considering how many are in the first third that I started out with. So it's logical right now to stay with Lady Gaga, and I'm in the mindset, they're in the mindset. So that's why I'm covering just Lady Gaga right now with all the Mayhem. I do want to do, like, once I've finished Mayhem, I also want to like explore the stuff I didn't do. At one point I had tried some of those songs that I started and didn't finish are from Born This Way. There's so many songs that I started on Born This Way, and then I kind of just like, I was like, oh, this isn't working. And so I set it aside, and other things through. I even have like, I think a third of Shallow done in 8-bit. And I was kind of like, from A Star Is Born. I was kind of like, but anyway, so right now, yeah, I'm a little bit like, there are other songs I want to do, but I'm kind of intentionally keeping them a little bit over here because I want to let Mayhem breathe and have its time. And then, because that's also where I'm at emotionally. And then I'll start to kind of, okay, I'm going to bring in these other ones and, jump around. But pre-Mayhem, there was zero. I didn't care how old a song was, how irrelevant a song was. I did 8-bits because I had fun with them,
Right.
because I loved doing them.
And I guess
even in my writing, I've never been a trend chaser, I guess.
trend chaser.
or whatever you'd call it. Like I don't look at what's hot and then try to do it, which I should. I mean, it's very understandable. I don't shun people who do. I don't think it's like something you shouldn't do, but it's something I've just never personally done, I guess. I don't know.
You're really creating from a place for yourself rather than for an audience.
Super duper selfish of me.
I don't think that's selfish. I think that that kind of outlook on it is much healthier than trying to appease to like this audience that's kind of faceless, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And then at the same time, it also means that your work is more authentic to you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Like my co-host Imperium is an influencer as well. And so, you know, she struggles sometimes with like the TikTok of it all and following the trends and figuring out what the algorithm's gonna like do for her or what
God,
it's
sounds
not
so
gonna do for her.
stressful. Jeez.
It apparently can be quite stressful in the sense that like you throw something out there just to see if anybody will bite, and then no one bites, but then you do something that's a trend and it pops off.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I guess this what works kind of a thing, right? So
It's hard not to be encouraged by it, you know? It's especially, you know, you're getting that's the followers, the engagement. Well, because you want to engage with people. That's the point.
well, yeah. And we've created this kind of online zeitgeist where like if it's not trending or if it's not popular, if it's not referential in some way, then people don't dive as deep for some reason.
Yeah.
So I definitely like props to you for giving Mayhem and the 8-bit covers some like breathing time.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm excited to hear the rest of the album.
Oh, yay. Very soon, very soon.
I'm curious. So you mentioned Garbage earlier.
Yeah.
But another artist that I noticed that you have extensively covered is Tori Amos. Is that how you say it?
Tori Amos. I don't know. I've always said Tori Amos.
Amos. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. And for anyone who's listening who is not familiar, can you kind of explain these two artists and like your relationship? You mentioned you listened to them a lot because of your mom when you were growing up.
Yeah. What was the other artist? Tori Amos and
Garbage.
Oh, Garbage. Yeah. So yeah, Garbage. My initial connection with Garbage is funny. So my brother and my mom kind of already listened to Garbage, and then when the new album came out, I suddenly Garbage became my own, and it was like my comfort. It was my voice. It was the soundtrack of my life. And what's funny is that I made a friend, and then that friend kind of became like my bestie for the rest of high school, and he got me into a couple of artists, Ani DeFranco, one of them, and the other one being Tori Amos. And Tori Amos just kind of like, I don't know what it is about her particularly compared to any artist, but like over my life from then, I feel like, with a few exceptions, she is like one of the only artists that I have always felt in frequency with. I feel like, you know that feeling when you listen to someone, you like their work, but then like maybe they put out another album and you do not connect with it. You're trying, you love the artist, but for some reason you're just like, that's never happened with Tori Amos. I've always just got her, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm feeling this. Thank you for doing it. Even when she's changed too, she evolves, but like I've just always been with her, and her music has always spoken to me, spoken for me, spoken with me, and she is kind of like one of the only artists I can think of that I've kind of gotten into in a 360. Like it's not just her studio albums, it's also like her interviews, it's also her performances when she goes on talk shows, it's also her live tours. I was thrilled to like follow her show and see her set lists and be surprised by them and see her new arrangements of older songs, and I was just like into it. I was obsessed. I was like, I love like her whole thing. And also because I guess of my peer group, I was kind of the only like huge Tori fan. Like she felt like mine in a way. And so it was kind of like, you know, there's a specialness about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I kind of don't care how it looks like that there's like this enormous majority of Tori Amos stuff, because I even covered her in like 16-bit, more of like a Super Nintendo style, where I would like make these animated shows using sprites from like modified sprites from like Final Fantasy to represent her band members. And I would literally put like a concert on with all these different songs that I covered.
Well, that's the videos. Those are the videos that I came across. Was like, it's not just one song. This is a performance.
Yeah, like literally like a performance. And because I just love her live shows, and I feel like some of my huge moments when I was a teenager, when I was in college, and after college were like Tori Amos or like a concert of hers. Because whenever she come to Houston, this Houston area where I'm from in Texas, that I would go and see her, and it was just like I remember every single concert in my head. It's just what else
It
are you gonna
sounds
do?
like her music obviously really connected with you and kind of almost became like a soundtrack to your life in a way.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and
Got you,
it's
got
I mean
you.
I could literally like when I go back to different albums, I'd be like, yeah, that was this part of my life. Yeah, that was this part. Yeah, this was this and this was that.
As emo scene fans, we definitely here at PremoDonnas definitely understand that feeling. Like I can look back at my from like 2004 all the way up to like 2012, 2013
Yeah.
and be like, this was then this happened and then this was when this happened.
Yeah.
And that's how you know you've like really connected with an artist and like
Oh, for
their
sure.
artistry as well, right?
Big time.
We kind of touched on this already a little bit, but the big covers you make kind of have that nostalgic quality to them. Is that something that is intentional, or is it just a byproduct of combining a popular song with these like 8-bit video game sounds?
I guess it's kind of both in a way because sometimes I do chase the nostalgia, the authentic like uh 8-bit style. There are actually, I think, 3 or 4 of my 8-bits that are true 8-bit where I limit myself to 4 channels and there's no echoing, there's no reverb, so like whenever instruments they cut off each other and things like that, like because I almost enjoyed working in this narrow lane of because it actually inspires more creativity. It's not limiting like you would think. It's kind of exciting. So I do love chasing that nostalgia feel with the songs, but sometimes it's also kind of just an accident. And it just happens to be that I love composing full orchestrated soundtracks too. I love playing with any sound in the world, but there's just something fun. It's almost like what a writing prompt is to a writer.
Yeah.
That's what 8-bit sometimes is to me as a composer, because I'm like, you get to here are your 4 tools. Use them as you wish to tell this song's story,
Well, and
And
it's
that's
kind of
exciting.
like a puzzle in that way. The challenge is welcomed from it.
Yes, it is very welcomed. What I do personally is I use the exact same software that I use to do my fully orchestrated soundtracks. All I do is I limit it to my square waves, triangle wave, and noise track, and then different variants of the square wave or pulse wave, however you want to call it. And so yeah, I literally just limit myself to the instruments and
Okay.
yeah,
So you're kind of emulating the way that the
emulating.
console would have produced those sounds.
Very honestly, that would be badass. I wish I had like a keyboard that was just like you just like it's the Nintendo chips, at work in it. But yeah, I don't have that unfortunately.
That involves some like technical expertise as well, I'm sure.
It
It's maybe
does.
understandable that you're just emulating it in software. But
Yeah.
I feel like that brings you back to that place where the original composers of the music in the games that you love would have been using those same limitations. And in that way it
Yes.
kind of like brings that connection a little bit more.
Absolutely, because there's times when I kind of have I don't know, I get 8-bit tunnel vision, and I suddenly am not listening to any artists. I'm listening to just video game music while I'm working, and I'll hear it sometimes, and I'll be like, "Oh, that was clever with that." Like I can almost kind of understand the music more now because I'm almost thinking, "Oh, that's a clever way that they do that to do this," and using like a deep scooping triangle wave to create a drum sound. Like
Mhm.
things like that you kind of you hear it, and it's kind of fun.
Well, you have that now you have the technical kind of experience behind you for producing the music that you're able to like read into those little things.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll pivot now
Okay.
because we've talked about music a lot,
Yes.
which is great. I'm super happy about that. But
Yeah.
we also want to talk about video games and also books.
Yeah. Let's do
So
it.
let's do a hot round, right? So just answer as quick or as off the top of your head as you can for video games.
I
Your
will.
covers
I'm
are.
horrible at this, but let's do it.
It's okay. It's okay. Editing is our friend.
Good. Okay, I'm ready. Ready.
So your covers are clearly inspired by retro games. You consider yourself a gamer, yes?
Yes.
I can tell from your shirt. The classic Japanese Pac-Man. Love it. I love it. So do you have any dream games that you'd like to work on, musically speaking? Like, if any publisher could approach you and be like, hey, we're doing this thing, what would the game or like the IP be that you would love to work on?
Oh my God, an RPG. I think
Game.
I've the games that I've worked on have been in the past have been small, mobile, kind of fun games, and that, you know, they might have a few levels, but it's kind of like I would love to write a scoping, like a large scope story RPG soundtrack with, you know, themes, character themes, and recurring themes, and just like I want to explore, because my favorite thing about RPGs is how it's like it's so elemental, and it's so like, I don't know, like you have music for a world that you're building. You're world building with the producers themselves. So an RPG.
Would you ever do a Persona game?
I
Have you ever
could.
played Persona?
I haven't, but I've heard of Persona, and it's one of those that's been like on my list. Like, oh, someday.
I definitely
Isn't like
recommend
Persona 5 now? Yeah, that's
Persona 5,
that's one I
yeah.
keep getting recommended. I need to
It's
play that.
it's not similar to the music you make for your 8-bit covers at all.
Uh-huh.
It's very jazzy,
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
but it's super fun, and the way that they mix it with their UI is super slick. Like, it's easily
Ooh.
one of the slickest games I've ever played.
Oh, I like slick.
Yeah, it's satisfying just watching, like, the menu screen pop up.
Oh, I
It's
love
great.
that.
Yeah,
You underestimate how important it is for the UI to be like just with the game.
right? And
Little
not
clickies.
be intrusive.
No. Yeah.
Okay. What do video games bring you, and like what continues to draw you towards them? Like, is it the escapism? Is it the ability to kind of live a different life? Like, what is it about it?
Depends on the game, both of those answers. It's I think in general, I tend to play a lot of RPGs just because I love, to me, it's like an interactive book. I mean, you get the same gratification that you do when you pick up like a fantasy book, or like something with a story with characters and things. That's a video game. You know, it used to have a bad rap like in the early 90s. It was like, oh, only nerds play video games and this and that. And it's like now everyone plays video games because they get it. You know, it's like it's not just rotting your brain. It's you know, there are games that challenge you. There are games that you know, tell a story that move you. I mean, we were literally exposed to storylines dealing with, oh my God, abuse, with suicide, with like heavy stuff that you wouldn't expect 12-year-olds to be exposed to. But I mean, games were the real deal, you know? I guess you can kind of say this. Yeah.
I can see 12-year-old you sitting there and being like, Final Fantasy VII, literally terrorism. It's fine.
Literally. Like,
Eco-terrorism.
the main characters of Final Fantasy VII are literally eco-terrorists, like bombing buildings to, like, you know, enact change from this greedy corporation. I mean, like, this is real stuff, you know? God. Anyway, yeah. So that's my visceral reaction to video games and why I love them and consume them.
I love that because it's very similar for myself. I love a good story-driven single-player experience. Like,
Yeah.
see you in 46 hours. Bye, kind of a situation.
Goodbye, world. Click.
Right? And if you had to recommend some of your favorite games, let's say 3, which ones would you recommend and why?
Oh gosh. Well, since we're in the retro spirit with 8-bit, I will pretend that we're all teenagers in the 90s. I highly recommend Final Fantasy, obviously. Literally redefined RPG, or defined RPGs in a way. You know.
Which Final Fantasy, though? Which one?
Well, I started with Final Fantasy 1, the very, very, very first one, but the one that really emotionally grabbed me is Final Fantasy 4, which at the time was released in the US as Final Fantasy 2.
Right.
And then my brother and I both played that, and it's kind of the first one with like a real serious emotional story. Like, they started introducing more story elements in 2 and 3, but like 4 is really like the sweet spot. But for me personally, Final Fantasy 6 was where it really hit it, and was just released as Final Fantasy 3 in the US. And tandem to that, or adjacent to that, is this brilliant game called Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
Oh my God. It's like medieval meets prehistoric meets futuristic meets time travel. It's just such a thing. And also, it was my first experience because I was so like singular with Final Fantasy and the composer of the series, Nobuo Yamatsu, and switching to Yasunori Masuda of Chrono Trigger. That game just was like so defining for me. So RPGs, I would recommend both of those. I don't know. Oh, Secret of Mana. I don't know if you can see it. They have this poster on my wall. Secret of Mana is also really a lovely game. It's kind of more like an action RPG.
I only recently played The Secret of Mana because they did a re-release.
Yes, they did, and with like the higher end graphics and 3D and all that.
Yeah, for me, it would have been Final Fantasy IX.
Oh yeah, I recently replayed that. It's like the most recent one I replayed was Final Fantasy 9.
It's the only Final Fantasy that aside from the newer ones, it's
Yeah.
the only Final Fantasy that I actually played like start to finish
Oh, nice.
on my PS1, and it had 4 different discs that you had to swap out.
Yes, gotta love those discs.
Yeah, and I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the main character was one of the first like animal hybrid characters.
Yeah,
with his little cat ears and his
yeah,
tail and
little
stuff like
tail.
that.
That's actually true. He's kind of the first non-human-esque main character. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
love on a personal note with Final Fantasy 9, I love the theater theme, the acting and I mean, and granted, it's all kind of like pirates and like kind of rogues and stealing the princess kind of thing, but it's theater and like really the whole story feels like an opera almost. Like it's almost got a
Yes.
comedic edge to it, which
Well, I was just
Yeah.
about to say they really tried to intertwine this comedic kind of atmosphere to it, and it was
Yeah.
almost, dare I say it, maybe a little bit camp
yeah, very.
at a time when like video games didn't do camp because that
Oh,
was a
no.
big no area because you had to be cool.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. Yeah, that's a very good point. I almost feel like some of that was like a reaction to Final Fantasy 7 and 8 being so serious and gritty, and Final Fantasy 9. I even remember when the game came out that my friends and I were like, this feels like an answer to people being like, why can't it be like the first Final Fantasies, like more fantasy based and more magic and stuff, and who knows?
And the little mage character,
Vivi,
Vivi.
yes, Vivi.
So cute and like love it. I don't know. I heard a rumor that they were planning to do like a remaster or like a re-release.
I've heard that
or
rumor for
remake,
years
perhaps.
now. Who knows?
So I'd be down for it. I'll give you my money. Here you go.
Take me money. Take him. Yeah.
Okay. Let's transition over to your books because there's a lot to cover here as well.
Sure, sure.
So, authors of such series as the Spruce Texas romances, Boys and Toys, Outlier, Kissing with Teeth, The Beautiful Dead, The Brazen Boys, and College Obsession. How long does it take you to write a book? Like, this is coming from someone who has no authorship experience at all. So I'm just honestly curious. Like, is this like a months and years type thing? Or is this like you can pump one out in like 4 weeks?
It depends. Personally, for me, I can only answer for me because every author is different. Personally, for me, it really depends. I have the great experience of having a lot of genres that I've written in because I've been all the way into fantasy, post-apocalyptic, dystopian. Those tend to take me a lot longer. I'm like my Outlier series, but it's mostly because the books are so long. There's a huge cast of characters, so many moving parts that I am like such a perfectionist about continuity and about plot holes and things like that. I like to be a really self-aware storyteller. So like I'm not beneath making fun of myself and self-deprecating my own story as I'm telling it because I like to be where the reader is when they're reading it. And so, I like to get into your head in kind of a way like I'm your friend telling you the story. But yeah, those books tend to take, because there's so much, they tend to take me a lot longer. Like the first Outlier book took me years and years and years to plan and figure out. Of course, I was also figuring myself out as an author because I hadn't really established myself yet. But the first Outlier book was my 4th book ever. Now I have like over 70, 80 titles, I think now.
Yeah, you have a lot of
I have
books.
I have a lot. I have a lot.
I was going through and I was like, holy fuck. There's like a ton of content here.
Yeah, there is. So I guess so yeah, those take me a long time, but like I'm working on the final Outlier book and it's been this huge like monster that I've been slowly defeating. But it's been taking me years. But my usual books, like my romances, they usually take me a couple of months, I would say, because I've gotten very practiced now. So I'm kind of like, it's not daunting at all to start a story, to start writing. I have ways to even deal with like my writer's block issues when I kind of hit a wall, or I even get to a place where I feel like I've missed something, or like the momentum got funky. You know, so aside those issues, and also aside life, because you can't predict life, you know.
No.
Gosh, last year I had so many curveballs. I had a plan and I had so many curveballs. I only was able to finish 2 books when I was planning like 4. And yeah, so you can't plan for those things, but aside those things in general, I would say a couple 2 to 3-ish months. Throwing out a book in 1 month, but it just, it happens. Just if it comes out, it comes out. If it takes a little bit longer, and
I feel that when it comes to the creative projects that I work on with this podcast or otherwise, I sometimes have a tendency to like hyper focus in.
yeah,
And then it's like, don't talk to me. I'm not eating. We're doing this right now.
me
Very
too.
blinders.
Very just do it. And it's not a creative I mean, it's not a linear process creating, you know? You just have
Yeah.
you have huge progress, and then you're stuck for like a week. It
Yeah.
happens.
I have attempted to write in the past and like sat myself down and be like, let's write something like a cohesive thing, like a full project or what have you.
Yes.
And they've all just flatlined. So
Oh,
I definitely understand that.
it's yeah. It's
It's one of
a
those
little bit of a
things.
muscle too sometimes. It's just, yeah, I mean, like I've heard so many conflicting ideas of how to, write, and how to write more efficiently, and how to write this and that. And my experience has basically been it's up to you.
You're one of USA Today's top male romance authors. When did that happen? And like, what was your reaction to being named that?
Yeah, I was it was surprising. With it was a story that was part of this anthology, and yeah, we hit the USA Today bestselling list, and it took a lot of work, a lot of promoting, and it was a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but it was great. And it was male LGBT themed, so it just everything aligned, and it felt very right, and we all felt very supported. And yeah, I was very surprised by it.
Did you know any of the other authors who were like named in that publication?
Yeah, yeah. Some of us were friends, and some of them were new faces that I got to meet and get to know through this process of, we all like write individual stories, and they had like a theme, and then they were centralized into this anthology together. It's very cool.
That's that's really exciting. Like USA Today, I mean, I'm not American, but I've heard of that publication before. Like they're not a small publication.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a pretty big deal, but I'm very happy, but I don't know, maybe it's just my own like humility or something. I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's cool, it's great.
So
Move
modest.
on,
So
just
modest.
I literally was like, I was going back and forth and back and forth on where, like, do I need to like retro change my covers and be like USA Today best-selling author? And I feel so like, I don't know, I still kind of have imposter syndrome sometimes on like, but my mom
Hey,
keeps slapping me on the back like, Daryl, you are not an imposter. You're making this happen.
yes.
I'm very lucky to have the
Come
mom that I
through,
do. She's very,
mom. Oh my
yeah, my
gosh.
Canadian mom. Very, very happy to have her
She's out
supporting me.
here being supportive. I love that. I was going
She's
to say,
rocking it.
when I was going through your socials and stuff, she is a common character that pops up with you.
Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of like and I don't want to say an accident. It's more of just like a thing that started happening. I was on this like group of male authors that were on Facebook, and the group itself kind of went viral. I'm no longer a member of it, but when I was there, I would do these live things with the group, and my mom would pop in a lot, and then people started calling her Mama Sue, and then suddenly like people who followed me from that group to my other social media profiles, then it started becoming like this Mama Sue thing. And I go I used to go to a lot more book signings than I do now, but kind of when COVID happened, then suddenly all the book signings stopped, and now I kind of go to a lot less. I go to more local ones, but I used to go to a lot of book signings, and I bring my mom to all of them as kind of my assistant. And also because she's wonderful, and she's read my work, which a lot of people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, she has. She's the first one to read all of my work. She's like my cheerleader, my number one, and so people kind of come to expect her at the signings, and it's so funny when like people come up and be like, Mama Sue, and she's like, we're the same age. Like,
Hi.
hi, no, it's kind of funny, but yeah,
You're sharing your success with her, and that's
absolutely,
amazing.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Um, okay, so for listeners who haven't dabbled into like romance novels really
sure,
before, it's not been their thing.
yeah.
What defines a good male romance story, in your opinion?
Oh, it's tough. I think whatever resonates with you is going to be a good male story, because there's a lot of really, honestly, what would connect you to a romance story in general is what I would say, or to a story in general, just like a good relatable character that you yourself can connect to and fall inside. Because what makes any good story is being able to jump into that main character and experience what they're experiencing, get mad with them, get happy with them, swoon with them, and just root for them. That's what makes a good story. You got to have a character that you connect to and that you root for.
Got you. Okay, and that's a very politically accurate answer. Good for
What
you.
should I have said something more scandalous?
Well, no, but I think, and this brings me to my next question.
Yeah.
Actually, and this is a little bit deep. This is a little bit more serious.
Okay, hold on.
Um,
Okay. Dang it! Don't
so
laugh. Okay,
sorry.
it's okay.
This is a misconception that I think I've held before, and also I feel is a misconception that's commonplace,
Mhm.
that male romance stories automatically fall into the category of like smut
Yeah.
media, that they're just like a different form of pornography,
Actually, yeah, I understand. I
right?
understand.
It How would you explain your novels and like the stories that you craft to someone who maybe has this misconception?
Yeah. It's funny though, because I've actually had a couple of friends who they mean it lovingly. They're not disparaging me, but like they do kind of make jokes about like, yeah, so how's that career in writing porn go? And writing porn going and things like that. And I'm kind of like, I understand that. And I think the romance genre in general has this, yeah, it has kind of like an attachment to like smut and erotica and things. And the thing is, I want to answer this, but I want to preface my answer with there is nothing wrong with smut. There's nothing wrong with erotica. There's nothing wrong with reading books that are just like that aren't really much story and it's just like sex, or it's like, all that. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever you're enjoying, enjoy it to the fullest. Even if you have to hide it from everyone else. It's whatever you whatever you want to do, read in private, discreetly. Whatever you want, read. It's wonderful. So prefacing that by saying that I feel like from my experiences and from what I've gathered from other authors, that a lot of romance in general has the line between what you would define as a romance or an erotica has blurred. And a lot
Mhm.
of readers tend to expect like detailed sex scenes in romance stories. They expect, open doored, I guess is what you would call it, open door sexuality in their books. And so because of that expectation, there is sort of a line. There is sort of a lot of crossing there. And sometimes it's like, now we have our romances where it's like, is it really steamy? Is it really spicy? Is it going to have a lot of sex in it, or is it kind of more tame or whatever? Personally, for me, I write, I blame this on my theater background and my playwriting background, that I'm very character first. So I'm very character oriented, and all of the choices I make are based on the character, what they want, what's against them, what they have to get through to get what they want, kind of thing, even in a romance story. And so honestly, the sexuality is secondary. And also, I don't stop the momentum for a sex scene. If I'm going to have an intimate scene in the book, it's still moving the plot. It's still moving the characters. There's discoveries and there's movement. And that's really important to me. That's really important to me when it comes to a romance story. So I would say that, and that's what I tend to tell people with regard to what my stories are like. My romances, they are stories first, and it's about the
Right.
characters.
So, do you find that like do you walk that line in your
Yeah.
yeah? Okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, as far as, like, between romance and erotica, yes, I do have detailed sex scenes, and I do have, like, things, but those sex scenes, like I said, they move the story, as opposed to, like, just to give, like, like just to get it context, as opposed to like a story where it really is about like these two people, they're gonna get it on throughout the whole book, and each scene is like how they're gonna get it on. And it's
Right.
really, the book is about exciting you. You know, it's about
Right.
arousing you. They're one-handed reads kind of things. And
One-handed reads. I've never
have you
heard
heard that
that
word?
expression. Oh my
It's such a
god.
regular expression. Sorry, yeah. I should have warmed you up to that one. But yeah, one-handed reads. Like, and what's funny is that I've had like people, the first time I heard that was someone was saying that to me. They're like, okay, they were recommending my book to people on Facebook, and they're like, be warned though, this is you don't want to read this in the subway around people. This is a one-handed read. And I was like, what? But it was one of my steamier stories, I think. Yeah. But but like where erotica might be more like really focused on the sexuality, mine's more focused on the story, but there's still sexuality in it.
Right. Okay. So we're walking the line, but we're not jumping 2 feet into the erotica side of things all the time.
Yeah, and it's not really intentional. It's whatever the story calls for. Because sometimes I have characters that are a lot more daring. They're a lot more open, and I'm like, it's calling. It's wanting to be racier and spicier, and I go with it. I listen.
Do you think that like your experience as a gay person influences the stories that you're exploring, and do the characters you develop allow you to maybe explore different sides of yourself that you maybe otherwise wouldn't?
Yeah, I think for sure. Okay, so when I first started writing romance, I started off right away with writing these short male stories, and then I kind of pivoted, kind of around the time that I joined this group of male authors on Facebook. I pivoted and decided to try my hand at writing a straight romance. That's my college obsession series, and it was like again, it was like it was very theatery because it's set at a college, and it's about like this girl from like a New York City Broadway family, and she comes down to Texas to go to college, and she meets the hunk in the theater department, and he turns out to be deaf, and so she's a singer, he's deaf, and it's got this great like internal, it's really like, it's very whatever. And I had a lot of fun. So like that was kind of where I started out. And the thing is that it was successful, and I was very like pleased, and I got a lot of new readers. But it's like I'm a gay man, and I kind of segued from gay romance to write this. There are gay characters in it, but and even one of the characters that is the main character in the later book in that series, he's bi, though his partner, like the person he ends up with is female, but like, so it's kind of a straight romance still, but there's like a gay, there's a threesome in there too, and all this kind of stuff. And, cause it kind of, it happens organically, and it's a total accident, and it's very fun, but as far as the story goes, but I kind of felt this like, where's me in it? Like, and so I kind of pivoted after that, and I wrote my first full length gay romance, which is Football Sunday. And that's the first book in my Spruce, Texas romance series, and I'm so happy that I wrote that book because it completely redirected my career into writing gay romance. And I was shocked at how many of my readers, even from the straight romances, followed me into it. And I don't know if I've said this yet, or if this might be something that you already know, but this might come as a surprise to you. But the vast majority of readers of MM and authors of MM are actually women. And so that's also something that I was kind of having in my head when I wrote the straight romance series, and then I kind of segued and started writing my Spruce, Texas romances, was that, I have a lot of women that read me. It's only been really in the last more recent times, kind of last 5 years, that I've started amassing more of a gay male following too. So um
I was going to ask about that for sure, because I had a hunch
yeah.
that your target demographic and your actual demographic were not necessarily the same.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny because you wouldn't, for some reason, whenever I tell people that aren't in the romance world, when I tell them that, they're surprised. But I'm like, it's just, I don't know, it's just the nature of the beast.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
Like, male character that's interested in other males. Male character that's interested in other males, not threatening to the female presence in any way, shape, or form. And like, I don't know, there's something a little bit not faux pas, but like it's like almost a little like this is one of those things. So I
yeah,
can totally see
Yeah.
Like, I can see an adult woman being like appealed towards something like that because it's non-threatening. And
Yes.
there's also very, very little opportunity or chance for a situation to come up in the story that maybe could be touching on trauma or something like that that they've experienced in the past. So it makes
Yeah.
total sense to me
I could
that
see that for sure.
you'd have a large female audience.
Yeah, for sure. Just, and it's just been in the genre. It's just the nature of the genre, I guess. A lot of female
Nothing
authors
wrong
and a
with
lot
that.
of female readers, and yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. And I try to establish myself as, a gay man writing gay romance, and I didn't. It's kind of funny because I didn't think that would be like such a novelty, I guess, like such a thing. But it's like sometimes I go to these book signing events and I'm like the only male there. There might be like 6 of us that write gay romances, but I'm the only male. I'm like, it's far and few between that I encounter another male author at these signing events.
Do you think that it gives you a little bit of edge on maybe some of the female author counterparts that you've encountered in the sense that like it maybe seems more authentic coming from you?
I don't know, in maybe, but it's not an edge that I'm aware of or that I pay too much attention to. It's just it's more because I'm always kind of just been like, it's just me. I'm not trying to be anything or trying to do anything. These are my stories. I'm telling them. But I do think, if anything, it does give me more of a sense of maybe like purpose. I'm having a hard time navigating this answer. Like, I feel like there's a sense of like a mission almost, because some of the feedback that I get, particularly from my gay male readers, I feel like it's a kind of feedback that only I could get, because they are like seeing themselves and through my stories, and they're living love lives that they themselves can't experience, because particularly because like my Spruce, Texas romance series, it's set in a small Texas town, but it's also kind of in this, I don't want to say an alternate universe because I don't want it to seem sci-fi, but it's kind of like the idea of the small town in Texas is also that it's completely homophobia free. And it's homophobia free even for like the straight men. Like, straight men relate to each other differently because there's no fear of looking a certain way or being a certain way. And in a way, it almost kind of eliminates sexism too, because there's not this sense of like, you know, man, woman have to be manly, have to be woman, but whatever. It's like, it's a very, everyone's welcome. This town is for everyone, and it's a fictional town, but I get a lot of people who react to this town like, I wish it existed, or I grew up in a small town and I wish it was like this.
It's like
And
almost aspirational in a way.
very, it's
Yeah.
wish fulfillment, but it's also like manifesting.
I see you.
Because thank you. Because I'm kind of like, it's like I write it not because it's some fantasy world. I write it because it's like I almost impatiently just want that to be where we're at.
Yeah. Where you can like flirt with any guy at the grocery store and it's like not going to be the end of you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
get it.
not gonna be, you don't have the danger. It's okay to flirt because straight guys do that. They don't care. It's just how it is.
Yeah, this kind of leads me to my next question, and kind of you've already answered it to a degree, but being from the Southern United States where, being queer, LGBT, or what have you is not necessarily always celebrated or welcomed. Do you find that you've had to combat any form of like discrimination when it comes to your books and things like that from like the general public? Or is it something that's kind of like just for romance fans and like your people aren't out here knowing all that?
Yeah. So that's kind of funny. I have experienced, so growing up. First off, just growing up in a small Texas town, I have, of course, have had my experiences, and I've had, various. I don't know if it's just my small Texas town that I grew up in, west of Houston, but it's also, I mean, my town now is more like a city, but like, but it gets kind of swallowed up into Houston because Houston's growing. But like, I had a lot of subtle homophobia, like microaggressive kind of passive aggressive kind of homophobia that I've experienced. And my outing experience in high school was very different. I was outed, and then it was kind
Oh
of like this
gosh,
whole,
I'm
it was,
sorry.
oh God, it was this whole, the thing is, it's like, I always downplay it just because it's like I was 15, and the whole situation is very complex, and it's not something I can, it's no one's faults per se. It's just it's a very complex situation. Um, but it did. I mean, I would be remiss not to say that it did affect me deeply, fundamentally, in how I kind of went through the rest of my life. And I think writing the Spruce, Texas series was almost a reaction directly to that, because I kind of wanted to like reimagine and think of like how it could have been, and all of that. Yeah, so I mean, I guess that so my experiences have kind of definitely affected. The thing is though is that like as opposed to putting the homophobia in the book and representing what I experienced and overcame, I kind of feel like, growing up in the 80s, 90s, early thousands, every gay story, like every gay movie and things, so many of them were like tragic. And it's like there's a reason that they're tragic. I'm not like saying that there's something wrong with it. It's our history. It's there's reasons for all of the things that we've endured. But I feel like the maybe the unintended side effect of that was that I never felt hope. I never saw like, well, this is where my relationship could go. It was almost like a
Mhm.
joke to think that someday men could get married, that you could actually marry the love of your life, that you could have, um, because we're so like beaten over the head with this hetero structure. You're gonna get a job, have kids, get a wife, and all that. You know what I mean? Like that kind of
The
heteronormative.
steps the
The
steps that
steps,
society has laid out for you are very
yeah,
heteronormative, yes.
heteronormative, exactly. And so I feel like part of my whole thing as an author has been I've experienced enough of the enduring. What I want to experience in my books, and maybe this is part of the escapism thing, what I want to experience in my books is what life could be like. And I want my books to feel safe, and I want the danger is going to come somewhere else. The danger is like the feeling of losing someone, is the all these things that we can relate to, is do they like me? Do they not like me? Is, have I said too much? Have I not said enough? When do I ask them out? Like all of the little, like the anxieties of life. That's where the danger should come from, not from your identity, not from who you are. And so that's why I really see my books as like a safe place.
Okay, so it's almost like the setting that your books take place in is like kind of like a postmodern future where we've kind of surpassed the idea of homophobia or transphobia or what have you. I don't think you
Yes.
have any trans specific
Yeah.
books, do you?
Yeah, not specifically, but yeah, I mean, the transphobia is 100%. Transphobia, sexism, homophobia, racism, it's like this whole thing. I kind of feel like I need my books to feel safe for everyone. And I need them to feel like, you know, because gosh, especially now where we deal with so much of it daily, 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 we need places to feel safe.
The binary feels like it's, especially in today's climate, feels like it's being more reinforced than anything, right? So your books kind of those narratives give way to a safe space,
Yes.
like you've said.
Yes. That's the
Okay,
intention for sure.
got you. And so I went through and I looked at all of your your books. I looked at all of the books and everything, and like the cover, the cover men. I have seen them in other places, is what I will say, and that was all I will say.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I'm gonna hear who you're talking about. Yeah.
They're beautiful, though.
Thank you very
Gorgeous
much.
specimens you've procured. But,
Thank you.
but I'm curious, does, and this is kind of related, but being
Sure.
an author of this genre and also, having a few spicy scenes here and there and having
Yeah.
that mixed into the narrative, does that invite spicy messages in your DMs from fans?
Yes.
Okay, I feel like I knew that was the answer when I wrote this question.
Oh yeah, you're right on. Yes, 100%. And yeah, they come quite regularly. That was probably a poor choice of words.
We'll let it slide. Oh my
They
goodness.
yes, I get lots of messages. And like I have a newsletter, and the thing is I welcome the message. Don't get me wrong. It's like, okay, here's the thing. I get an array, a gradient of messages regarding the spice in the books, and some of the messages are about like the books themselves, and like they're curious, and then I have people who just react to them, and they want to know like how much of you is in this book. Is this from
Hey,
your real
hey,
experiences?
Just wanted to let you know that I read this book.
I get a lot of that too, and you know, I kind of, you know, I handle it the way. I mean, I do also get like some. I don't want to sound like a prude and be like vulgar. I get vulgar messages, but I get like, you know, I get like certain messages that I'm, you know, I always I try to find ways to sort of like address it without, you know, like inviting anything.
Because on one hand, it's like, they're like, "Oh, you liked my stuff. Thanks, I guess." But at the same
Yeah.
time, you also don't necessarily wanna be saying thanks if it's like, "Here's a picture of my D."
Yeah, that's, you know, that has happened. And part of it is like, you know, I kind of have this duality about it because it's like on one hand, I mean, I'm happy, like I'm glad that my work is affecting you because, you know, say what you want about smut and erotica and stuff. If you're finding yourself in those books, it's like, and you're experiencing something that you aren't getting in real life, or that you're able to experience in this cerebral way that's different from real life. It's a good thing, and it's something that's healing you somehow. So even if your reaction is kind of sexual or direct to me, you know, if you have these reactions, I'm happy on this, on the sense of great, because the book is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's affecting you, it's emotionally stirring you, it's stirring you in multiple ways. You know, that's wonderful. It's just that I also need to kinda keep that boundary of, you know, let the book do the job, not me.
Right,
Does that make
right.
sense?
Makes
Eh.
total sense, and I can also understand how, like, someone is reaching out to you in regards to a piece of media that you've created that's not a reflection specifically of yourself.
Yes.
It's one of those things where it's like, I appreciate and love that you love my content, but
Yeah.
also, like, that character you've fallen in love with is not me,
Yeah, that's
right?
absolutely, and I think that's a really good point, especially I think for any artist, that can relate to this. It's like, you know, I'm not every character in my books. I'm not, you know, I write characters that are not me, and I write characters that are more aggressive or more assertive or even more shy than me. Like I write, you know, and I think because particularly in the independent author world, where authors feel more tangible, they feel more accessible.
Yeah, of course.
I think there's kind of this there is this very like like walk through boundary with authors that you feel like they're talking to you and their books are all them, and you know what I mean? Like there's less of a detachment from books. Like we're not asking George R. R. Martin if he actually like murders people and puts their heads on spikes, and you know, like, you know what I mean? Like we're not
Yeah.
attributing Game of Thrones to him. It's he's an author and he created this. And sometimes I think the romance genre, maybe because of the nature of romance and eroticism, maybe it's harder to distinguish the author from the work. But
Right.
yeah.
That makes sense to me. I definitely knew when I was writing this question, I was like, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So, we'll start to wrap up here,
Sure.
but do you have any advice for aspiring writers? I know that's like the stereotype question.
Yeah, yeah.
Forgive me, but I have
No,
to ask it.
you are forgiven. You know, I guess it depends on where they are in their journey, if they are writing already or if they haven't started writing but they have ideas. But I would say maybe for the most part, if they're just writing, I would say the general advice that I would give, I'm gonna answer your cliche question with a cliche answer. Stay
Okay.
true to yourself.
Love it.
Because it's important because, and here, let me root that in reality a little bit. I feel like one of the biggest things that you will realize, because if you're an aspiring author, let's say you put out stuff and you actually finish stuff and you put it out there, you're going to have a moment, regardless of the amount of success you've had or not had. You're going to have this moment later when you look back on your work and you're going to kind of see this journey you've taken, and you won't really like, I feel like you're going to applaud all of the moments that you were daring and that you took risks and that you thought to yourself, well, this is what I want to do, but I don't know if people will want me to do this. Do it, because whatever the story is that's inside you, you are the only person on this planet who can write that story. So it's like, you need to write it. You need to do it. Someone told me that, like, or told me a form of that when I was in college. And the profoundness of that didn't really hit me until later. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm sitting on this idea and I can't, like, someone else isn't going to write this. I need to write this, you know? So,
Definitely. I
yeah.
definitely know that feeling. Maybe not about writing specifically, but I know that feeling. The idea that like if you make it, they will come.
If you make it, they shall come.
Yes.
Yes.
And I feel like maybe you can empathize with this statement from on the music side of things. It literally does take a decade of work to become an overnight sensation. It does.
It's funny, isn't it?
Chappell Roan said it, and it's true.
Yeah. You see like the artist suddenly appear and you don't necessarily see the 10 years of journeying to that place where the spark happened. You don't, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, very true. Absolutely.
Okay. Wrapping up here, do you have any current new projects? Things that we don't know about?
Well, in my book world, I'm working on another book that's going to be set in a Texas beach town. It's part of my Texas Beach Town series. I'm also working on the third book in a my Kissing with Teeth series, which is kind of a twisted take on the jock meets nerd trope, but with a vampire
Okay.
twist. It's very fun. I'm working on the third book in that series, and I have another project that I'm doing that's related to the Spruce, Texas series, which people will actually be able to see later this year. It'll be part of an anthology. And
Okay.
as far as my music goes, I am currently composing for a project with Jordan Cobb again, and she's doing. I can't reveal too much about it, but she's doing this really cool project, and I was brought on as a composer, and I cannot wait to share more about that. But I'm working on music with that. And as far as my 8-bits go, I think we touched on this at the beginning. I'm excited to kind of jump into some new territories and also explore some of go back and explore some of classic Gaga. And as soon as the Mayhem album is out, I do have plans to try and get that on Spotify. That has been one of my number one requests, was to get it on a streaming service so people can listen to it wherever. Basically, it is my original work. It's not a remix, which uses elements of the song. It's a completely original work. Original. The
It's a derivative
content
work.
is original, but it's derivative. It's a cover of a song, and so yeah, it's not about. I'm not making money. You know what I mean? Like I'm giving this like I want to give it to the people who enjoy it and who listen to it and have fun with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that.
Yeah.
I listened to all of your music that's on platforms through Amazon Music because they give out the most royalties. So, a little hack
Thank
for anyone
you.
anyone who listens to music on platforms regularly, who's listening right now, try Amazon Music. You get it with your Amazon Prime account anyways, and if you, listen there, the royalties are, like, significantly better.
Wow, I didn't know
Um,
that actually.
there you go.
There's so much
Um,
that's like behind the scenes. I didn't understand that. That's really cool. Yeah, I think I would probably attach them and be like, there's they're covers because I don't want any kind of misconception of like someone coming to my stuff and being like, "What is this song called Abracadabra by Daryl Banner?" And I'll be like,
right.
these 8-bits are celebrating the music. They're celebrating the artists. I'm not making these for Daryl Banner. I'm making these because I'm celebrating Lady Gaga, and I can't get enough Mayhem right now. Like
Right.
obsessed. So yeah.
Right. On one question before we wrap up fully.
Sure. Yes.
Well, I guess less of a question, more of a statement. If I had a suggestion for an 8-bit cover song of a new
Yes.
song that recently came out, it would be End of the World by Miley Cyrus.
Ooh,
Have you
okay.
have you heard it?
Yes, I mean, it's yeah, I will listen to it, and I'll listen to it after we get off this, and I'll be like, "Ah, yes, this song."
It's such a good feel good song.
Mhm.
I'm really obsessed right now. So that's what I recommend personally.
You got it.
But thank you so much for coming on and joining me here on PremoDonnas. We've had a really thoughtful conversation. It's been long.
Yes, it
Thanks for
has
sticking it
been.
out with me. But
Ok
last couple things.
Sure.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us, your fans or the listeners? Like anything at all?
Honestly, what I would just wanna take a second to say is thank you very much. Thank you, for following me and for whatever algorithmic thing led you to find your way to my work in any way. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And I hope you continue to enjoy, even if I start doing other artists and just being nuts. And Gaga's always going to be there. She has so many songs. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm going to do like other artists and then be like, sneak a Gaga in there and do this and that.
I mean, yeah, you could. She has a huge discography, and you're right. She's established herself as an icon, and she's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, not at all. But yeah, I think the ultimate thing I would say is thank you very much for all, you know. And I mean, it brought us together, so I'm very happy. You know, thank you for
Yay,
having
new
me
friends.
on this. Yeah.
Where can people find your music, books, and social media profiles?
Basically Amazon.com is where I sell my ebooks exclusively. You can also find my audiobooks there as well if you prefer to listen to your books. A lot of my newer books, I'm actually narrating myself, so get to shove my voice in your ears with my words. And my music is on Bandcamp, where you can actually download them. And then they are on all the streaming services that you could probably find. YouTube is mostly my 8-bits. And yeah.
Under what username, though?
Oh, yeah.
So the
Daryl
people know.
Banner. I guess just Daryl Banner, like my name. Daryl Banner. I have my Instagram. I have YouTube, and I have Facebook is Daryl Banner Writer. If you go to Daryl Banner, then you go to my personal page, but it's just basically another extension of my author page. Yeah.
And you also have TikTok.
I have a TikTok. Yes. I put really random stuff on there. I didn't really have a plan when I started TikTok. I started doing these funny, like making fun of author world stuff and things that I deal with, or, you know, writing stuff. So.
All right. So everybody can check out Daryl on his socials, on YouTube.
I was suggested that I should do like a TikTok that includes my 8-bits because people were saying that I should do that. So I did actually start. I think I called it Daryl Hyper 8-bit or something like that. Like, I actually started a channel, but I haven't uploaded anything yet. So I will likely be starting to laterally release on a TikTok as well.
Once again, this is Daryl Banner, composer, gamer, and esteemed author. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to give this episode a like, a star rating, and a subscribe to the PremoDonnas channel to stay up to date with all of our latest episodes. You can also check out our website at www.premodonnas.com for more content. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.